Amendment by Anchía.
The chair recognizes Mr. Anchía to explain the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. I was following the debate very quickly, or very closely, between Representative Schaefer and Representative Bernal, and I didn't know whether I would file this amendment. I just did it because I saw that there was maybe a lack of focus on keeping guns out of the hands of bad guys. And the discussion on the last amendment went something like, we don't want guns in the hands of criminal street gangs, but we absolutely want to allow them for domestic terrorist organizations. And apparently it is the sense of this body that domestic terrorist organizations should have guns. I sought to narrow the discussion slightly because if the response from the bill author was, well, you know, you don't have due process on some of these law enforcement lists that only law enforcement can see. So what I thought I would narrow the amendment to do, and I filed it when I was listening to the argument between the amendment on the prior amendment with the bill author, is I said, we don't want guns to fall into the hands of insurrectionists as defined by 18 U.S. Code 2383, or violent white supremacist extremists. And this really speaks to the dialogue that I was having with Representative Bernal about the greatest domestic terrorist threat to the United States today. And anybody who's been paying any attention is probably watching hearings after the insurrection about the people who most want to do harm to our country. The people who took the Confederate flag into our nation's capital. A flag that had not even been there even during the Civil War. Yet these people penetrated the Capitol. They murdered law enforcement officers. They sought to hang the Vice President of the United States and murder members of Congress. They did great violence upon our democracy. Those people should not have guns under this bill, period. And should be treated as badly as criminal street gangs. And should not enjoy the privileges of gun ownership in the state of Texas. And furthermore, because it is the greatest threat, the greatest domestic terrorism threat that we are facing today, these violent white supremacist organizations, this is not me saying it, this is the head of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the top cop in the United States. We don't think those guys should have guns and be protected under this bill either. So I would ask you members, and I would ask really the author of this amendment, the author of the bill to accept this amendment so that we could put criminal gangs and these types of people who want to harm us, want to change our way of life, believe in white supremacy, want to kill Jews and black people. They want to kill Mexicans like they did in El Paso. We don't think they should have guns either. So if you stood in sympathy with our brethren from El Paso and understand the pain that they felt, then you shouldn't want to treat these violent white supremacists any different than you would a criminal street gang. So, members, I hope you will do the right thing. I hope the bill author will do the right thing and accept this amendment. And if not, I hope you stand with me against violent white supremacists and insurrectionists. Thank you.
The chair recognizes Mr. Anchía to close on the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. I'm really grateful to Representative Schaefer for walking back up and taking questions, which is a really solid courtesy that we should always accord to each other. And I really wanted to riff off of what the chairwoman was asking for the back mic, because she was told that this was not the right time to talk about whether we should be denouncing white supremacy or insurrection. I think it's always the right time to be talking about denouncing insurrectionists and white supremacists and creating policy that doesn't put guns in their hands. And so, to the chair of the Black Caucus, I say right on. There's no reason why we should be treating criminal gangs differently than violent white supremacists who want to kill just about half the people on this House floor as an article of faith, who wanted to string up the Vice President of the United States because an election didn't go their way, who wanted to kill members of Congress and tried to, who killed Capitol Police officers. I don't think they should benefit from protections under this bill. A bunch of them were from Texas.
Mr. Speaker.
And so, members, I got to tell you,
Mr. Bernal, for what purpose?
there is never a bad time to denounce insurrectionists, violent white supremacists. And I think the time to deal with it is not in some random bill, but now, and make a strong statement from this body that we will not tolerate it at all. So thank you, and I yield to my friend and colleague from Bexar County.
Thank you, Chairman. I want to make something clear. The author of the bill says that the section about criminal street gangs does not intersect or interact with the overall purpose of the bill. In the bill itself, is the section about criminal street gangs underlined?
Absolutely is.
Which means what to the layperson who's watching?
Which means it's new. It is part of the new law. It is a statement of policy that we are making from this body. That's what it means.
And so it did not exist before, it exists now. Does that section interact with the overall body or corpus and purpose of the bill?
Completely and inextricably.
So we could add white supremacists, domestic terrorist organizations right now and have that group also be subject to the bill as criminal street gangs already do. Is that right?
And that is the goal of this amendment. This amendment says we do not offer insurrectionists. We do not offer violent white supremacists protections under this bill. They do not and have not earned protections under this bill. They do not get to have unlicensed guns. That's what this amendment says.
And so just to be clear, we could add and subject domestic terrorists and white supremacists to the body of this bill, but may choose to or not to with this vote. Is that correct?
This is a choice, members. And as the chair of the Black Caucus so ably pointed out, yeah, we are making policy. We are talking policy. This isn't in the abstract. This is where you stand right now, today.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
And this decision cannot be clearer.